Hello, and welcome to this episode of the Diary of a Lawyer. And I just want to cover a number of topics. But first is the violence that has erupted in Kenya after the protests regarding new taxes. This has been going on for weeks against the Kenya Kwanza coalition of the current government. According to reports, local and international, several people have been injured in Kenya as clashes between anti-government protesters and security forces rocked the East African country. The Kenya Human Rights Commission reported that several people had been shot and possibly killed yesterday in Nairobi, the capital, and two other cities on the first of 3 days of mass protests called by the opposition leader, Raila Odinga. Now, the former Prime Minister has been mobilizing supporters to demonstrate against the new taxes signed into law last month by President William Ruto. It's important to note that the courts had taken a different view and directed the president to pause in terms of implementation. Now, reports say scores of people have died in recent weeks and hundreds of people have been arrested. Parts of Nairobi where yesterday, amid a heavy police presence, were deserted, and protesters in other parts of the capital burned tires and hard rocks at police, and local media reported with the security forces responding with tear gas. Now, more than a dozen people have been killed since the protests began, according to the commission, which has accused police of using excessive force. Odinga, who has been organizing the protests since losing last year's election to Ruto, has accused the government of trampling democracy and failing to help households cope with a surge in inflation caused partly by allegedly by Russia's invasion of Ukraine. There's a media reports. We can't, verify that. Now, Ruto's supporters say Odinga is apparently sour at losing the ballot, and he has entered and lost Kenya's past 5 presidential elections, but managed to negotiate senior positions in government after a period of unrest. Ruto is reported to have told Odinga that he cannot seek leadership of Kenya through bloodshed, death and destruction of Kenyan property. There's no way you can change Kenya by taking the path that you've chosen. Now, the president, who won the election with a pledge to help marginalized Kenyans, said the country needed to raise taxes to balance state finances that have been badly strained by soaring debt, repayments, and low revenue collection. His Kenya Kwanza coalition has introduced new levies on fuel and housing as part of a financial bill that has been frozen by the courts. Now, Odinga's party has accused Ruto's government of being out of touch. In Kenya Kwanza's view, the cost of living is not so high as to warrant protests. Kenya Kwanza doesn't know how angry and hungry Kenyans are, is reported to have said. Religious as well as civil society groups have urged Ruto and Odinga to resolve the differences, with Catholic Bishop asking Ruto yesterday to repeal the tax rises in the context of the current economic situation. The UN has expressed deep concern at the widespread violence and allegations of unnecessary or disproportionate use of force including the use of firearms by police. Kenya has a history of political violence, notably after the elections in 2007 and 2017, when 1,200 and 100 people were killed, respectively. And so, the context is that these have been ongoing protests by Kenyans, mainly spearheaded by the former Prime Minister Raila Odinga. And one of the most frightening events during the previous few weeks' protest was the invasion of farms, notably of the former President Uhuru Kenyatta and the factory belonging to Raila Odinga, among others. And so Kenya is quickly appears to be spiraling between Kenyans who appear to legitimately be protesting against the high cost of living and the courts freezing the bill that had been signed by the president, whilst the ruling administration is pushing ahead, and hence the clash. And so there we are. There we shall leave it on this episode of the Diary of a Lawyer, and we shall speak again. Thanks for watching. Bye.